Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Midtown. This is our online Sunday celebration. Very glad to see you all. We always start off with a couple of things. One is the reminder that such is the nature of life, that all it wants and all it asks is the opportunity to appear. You're that opportunity, so am I, and so it is. Join me, if you will, in a brief opening centering spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer. There is only one power, one infinite intelligence, one universal presence. It is love itself, it is life itself, and it is flowing in as and through each of us. So as we come into this time together, we surround this community and all that is its connections across the country with love, with support, and with an atmosphere and energy of health and wellness. Knowing that this is who and what we are, I can release this with ease. I can let it be, and so it is. All right. Well, welcome, everyone. For those who are perhaps new with us, or whether you're new or not, I would remind us all that we are a center that is honoring and welcoming of all people. We welcome you and we celebrate you, whatever your ethnicity, your background, your religion, whatever your sexual identity, all of those labels and titles we give to ourselves, all are welcome, all are honored as the individuation of spirit. So we're glad you're here. We celebrate you for being here. Our center is a unique center in that we are focused, well, maybe not that unique, but unique because we're in one place. But we focus our attention and our energy around presenting strong spiritual truths of new thought. And we do that by teaching and by practice and by service. We also do it by providing opportunities for connection, like we're doing right now, and like we'll be talking about that we do through the week. Also for engagement with each other, opportunities for finding your dreams and expressing that, tools for spiritual growth and practice in the midst of practical everyday life. So that's who we are and what we're about, and I'm glad you're here. I invite you to engage with us on our website. If you're on Facebook, like us on Facebook. It's another way to just increase your engagement and involvement. Share us with your friends if you feel comfortable. So thank you for being here. A further definition of who we are it's in our Declaration of Principles, which we read together each week. And I invite you to join me. So I believe in one God, one absolute power and first cause to all things. I believe that this power is perfect love, and it creates out of a desire to express love. I believe all thought is creative, and how I choose to think creates my personal experience. I believe in the unity of all life and the immortality of the individual soul forever unfolding. I believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of God to all.
So it is.
So it is. Here you see it in writing. So at this time, I want to introduce one of our lead practitioners who will bring us some good ideas and then lead us in a more focused and deeper spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer as we move into this day's full celebration. So thank you, Doug Moody.
Good morning, everyone. And I want to extend a special welcome to those who might be visiting us for the first time. We're so happy that you can be with us this morning. It's a beautiful spring day outside. And I want to just pull you away from that 24/7 news cycle that has a tendency to create anxiety and fear, and just kind of let all of that stuff go for a few moments and know that you're in a good place with us here. This morning, the theme of our service, I was very excited about and honored to join with Dr. Bob Deen in celebrating. Spirit is in every expression. And in that theme, what I think the challenge for us to do is to, as Dr. Bob Deen mentioned earlier, just drop all the labels. We really don't need them. What really is important is that we love each other exactly as we are. And when we can extend that connection to one another, we all make the world a better place. So I think that's really beautiful. And despite everything going on that news cycle that I was talking about, if you're taking a look outside your window, you might see, oh, actually some raindrops right now, but it's springtime. And everywhere around us outside, we're reminded of the eternal spring, new life, new opportunities for growth. The woods are greening, the trees are greening, flowers are starting to bloom. The redbud trees here in Atlanta are all flowering. Daffodils are kind of moving out of their phases. So there's signs of life everywhere. The birds are all swarming around, feeding, nesting. Even the bees are buzzing around, trying to bore holes in wood, and pollinate all the things that are blooming. So I found this poem, and I thought it was appropriate to share with you this morning. It's by one of my favorite poets, Robert Frost, and it's entitled A Spring Prayer. Oh, give us the pleasure in the flowers today, and give us not to think so far away as the uncertain harvest, but keep us here, all simply in the springing of the year. Oh, give us pleasure in the orchard white, like nothing else by day, like ghosts by night. And make us happy in the happy bees, the swarm dilating round the perfect trees. And make us happy in the darting bird that suddenly above the bees is heard, the meteor that thrusts in with needled bill, and off a blossom in midair stands still. For this is love, and nothing else is love, the which it is reserved for God above, to sanctify to what far ends he will, but which it only needs that we fulfill. What I loved about this poem is it reminds each of us to just stop, take a deep breath, look at all the beauty that God has given us outside in nature that's surrounding us right now. All this new life, let that be our focus. Dwell in that, recognize that. It's all given to us by God out of love. And it's up to us to recognize and appreciate and build on that energy. So now I'm going to offer you an affirmative prayer. I'm going to say this in the first person and ask you to just relax and accept what resonates with you, and what else doesn't, just throw it over your shoulder and keep going. You're in a good place. So get comfortable and just know this together with me. There's only one infinite power, one divine spirit, one cosmic something operating throughout the universe and operating through me and each soul present right now and always. And I and each are one with this infinite power for good, because it is always within, simply awaiting our recognition, waiting to be called forth, waiting to be expressed. And it is us who chooses that expression. And when each calls this forth, we are connecting on a bigger, stronger level. We are connecting with all the creative power that is in the universe around us. And we are one. Today, I claim divine love, divine wisdom, divine self-expression. divine courage, guiding me and each towards a fuller expression of life, infinite abundance, infinite health, infinite joyful self-expression in our work, our hobbies, our passions, and infinite connections in unconditional love and our loving relationships. I let go of all senses of lack and fear that no longer serve me, because I know that there's a bigger idea at hand for me to understand, to recognize, and to call forth. And I do so with courage each and every day. I let this infinite abundance in all of these areas of my life be my truth and the truth for each. I'm so grateful for all of this infinite love and health and self-expression and loving relationships that fill our days, our lives. My heart overflows with love and joy and gratitude for it all. Life is wonderful. And knowing this, I release this treatment, this word, into the universal law, knowing it is done. I simply let it be so. And it is wonderful. And so are you, and so am I. And together we know, and so it is.
So it is.
I would also like to let people know that if you are in need of some prayer coaching with a practitioner, you can simply click on the little chat toggle at the bottom of your screen and post your request. And one of the practitioners from our center will be following up with you. It's all pretty easy, and we look forward to that. That's what we're here for. So this morning, I have a little treat. Dr. Deen, Bob Deen this week texted, what are you guys doing with all this free time? And so I thought, I know what I'm going to do. So I put together a little music video, and with it being spring, and I hear all the posts and see all the posts about, no spring break, no travel restrictions. I decided I'm going to take you someplace really beautiful. We're going to go to the island of Eleuthera in the Bahamas, and I'm going to accompany you there with my music. This music is from a CD that I created in my first year of my practitioner studies as a challenge to be more self-expressive. And it was a wonderful project that has brought me much joy. And I want to share with you the title track this morning, Where You Need to Be. And as I said, the photographs that are accompanying the music are from the island of Eleuthera.
Well, that was wonderful. A quiet meditation with wonderful pictures. Thank you, Doug. We will take a ring check on getting that music up. We run these things ahead of time and test them, but one of the joys of dealing with electronics, and especially right now at this time of day, every church in this half of the U.S. is having services online. So sometimes those things just get mixed up or don't come through as planned. So we'll work on it. Thank you for being here. So there's a great story that's been around for a while. You probably heard it already, but in case you haven't, I'm telling it again. And even if you have, I'm telling it again. And that is a story that says, or that's about a man that gets on a train in Manhattan, and it was really late at night, so he expected it to be somewhat quiet. But he gets on the train, and there's a lady there with two kids, and she's kind of looking out of it and tired, and the two kids are just running wild all over the train car. They're making noise, they're climbing up and down off the seats, they're swinging on the pole in the middle, they're making everybody miserable around them, although there aren't that many on the train. And finally the guy gets really angry. He can't stand it anymore because he was tired too and he wanted a break. And he shouts at the lady, "Ma'am, take care of your kids. Can't you see they're running wild?" Big outburst, loud outburst. So that leads me to the question, Who in your life would you like to shout at and say, get it together? Stop what you're doing. Do something different. I'm pausing so you can think about that. See, I think a lot of folks have those kinds of people in their lives. And sometimes there are our neighbors. Sometimes there are family members, quite often, in fact. And sometimes they are just strangers on the train. But we get worked up, we get excited, and we have outbursts that are anything but loving when that happens. What you probably know about our teaching is that we are a group that has been a safe place for folks who didn't fit anywhere else in the culture for a very long time. We were a safe place for women to be ministers long before they were ministers in very many other places. There were a few. We were a safe place for gay men to be ministers or to be practitioners or to just be welcomed. It was amazing and wonderful for me the first time I went to the Atlanta Church of Religious Science here back in the 80s and sat down with my partner and could hold hands, and nobody threw anything at us or looked at us funny or said a word to us because everybody else in the place practically was the same way. And we also, though, had lots of folks who sort of sat in that usual, more mainstream sort of personality look. But what's really been true is in all of this, we are all people who are willing to think outside the box, willing to think in a different way about life, and willing to look at things a little differently. Our teaching is a refuge. So that is because it's a core idea of our teaching that there's one divine power, one divine life, one divine something flowing through everyone, you, me, all of us, and all creation at the same time. It not only flows through, it is the stuff we're made of. It is the very essence of our lives. So that all coming from this one power, this one oneness, our tendency is toward acceptance, recognition, celebration even of the folks in our lives who are whether in our lives or not, but folks who may appear to be slightly different or somewhat. So that's why at the beginning of every service, we talk about everybody is celebrated here. Whatever labels, whatever stuff you hang on it, whatever background you have going. You may know the end of that story. The end of that story is the woman looked up at the man who had been yelling at her, and she looked around at her children as if seeing them for the first time. And she said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm coming from the hospital. Their father just died. And I didn't even see them. I'll do something to help calm them down." And she did. I don't know about you, but when I hear that story, my mind immediately shifts. Because I can get pretty irritated at loud and noisy people sometimes. But my mind shifts when I recognize and understand why the situation is what it is. When I go behind the appearance into the motivation, into the actions, into what's happening. And in that, I really can trust and let go of seeing the other as an other. I've lost people. I know what that feels like to lose a partner, to lose a family member, a parent, all of that, as do I know most of you. So recognition of that, understanding of it, suddenly shifts and changes how we feel and what we think. It happens with our neighbors. It happens with people we see in the street. Those of us who've been in this teaching for a while have been really practicing that recognition of who we all are in a way that has made it possible to stretch a little bigger. So in this idea of welcoming those who perhaps don't fit the usual societal norms, I'd like to share with you a statement by Ernest Holmes. You guys can see that? Okay. So we all know Ernest was a forward thinker, but also in some ways a product of his times. So when he refers to man, he's referring to all people. But man, coming from unity, is both male and female and has within himself both attributes of reality. In some, the male predominates, in others, the female. We have two distinct types in both man and woman. But there are types of one fundamental principle. There's also an intermediate sex. That is, one in which the two attributes seem to be almost equally balanced. The greatest men and women of the ages have belonged to this type, for it is a more complete balance between the two, which are really one. So I wanted to share that because our theme for this month is all about celebrating the divine feminine. And as we've come to the end of the month, we're being nudged by our organization and by one another to take a closer look at some of our preconceived notions about gender, about sexuality, so that we don't find ourselves not honoring the people who should be honored and who need to be honored. And one of those areas is in this whole exploding new awareness of sexuality and of gender identity, two separate things, and coming to understand why honoring that or speaking that in a certain way is important. And we do that so that we can relate more clearly to the divine within a person, but also so we do better in our interactions and relationships with people. You know, you love to be called by your name. It's important. It's necessary. I do. Everybody misspells my last name. I gave up years ago correcting them on it. Although every once in a while, if especially somebody who I know has been spelling it right and then forgets and spells it the other way, I may be a little irritable. But it's important to all of us to be called by who we are and who we understand ourselves to be. And it's a very honoring thing that we do for one another. Well, in today's world, and as consciousness has grown and developed, and we've been free to explore these areas of life, we have found that we are no longer locked into male, female, he and her, or him and her. And so one of the things that we do, and especially working with the teens and the young adults, is we ask folks to identify according to their pronouns. Because if someone is binary, non-binary rather, they're not male, female, they really have an inner sense of being non-binary, their pronoun may be they. Yours may be he, she, or not he, she, but she, her. Mine is him, and sometimes her. I get called that once in a while, especially by my daughter. So we hear this all around us, and we're going to be hearing it more and more and more. And as we gather with the young adults in our organization, as we come together with young adults, period, that's becoming a bigger point because everybody wants to be called by their name. So there's a whole opening for doing two things. For being the first, being out front as an organization and as a people, to honor and recognize people who do not see themselves in the binary way, the man, woman way. We teach that every one of us, whether our bodies are male or female, have within us the divine masculine and the divine feminine. So it's just the next step to hear these young people embracing that idea when they recognize it in themselves in a very different way. So if I called you guys her, you wouldn't be too happy with that. And ladies, if I called you hims, you wouldn't be happy with that either. So part of what I'm inviting you to do is to pay attention to this and see if you can find a really wonderful way to do that. And one of the best ways about the pronoun thing is if you're with somebody you're uncertain or you think might be in that range, tell them what yours is. Hi, I'm Bob. I'm a he. I go by he, him, and his. And people will look at you funny if they don't know what you're talking about. But, people look at me funny all the time, so that's not a big problem. I was in a restaurant recently where our waiter was, in my mind, clearly gender non-specific or non-binary. So I asked, or I said, I go by he, him, his. What are your pronouns? And I got a funny look. And then she said, her, and, but it was, and then she and I have a connection. I will always, every time I go in that restaurant, this woman comes over to speak to me. We made a real heart connection, but not because I got it right, but because I cared enough to ask and cared enough to share my own thing. And if we take that to the next step, it is about recognizing the value, the beauty, and the goodness that God is as each of us and as we come forward. Now, there's another aspect to the divine feminine that I want to talk about briefly. Maybe not briefly. There's a call in the divine feminine within us. It's the side of us that pulls the listener out, that draws us into situations like the one on the train, and would have us, rather than shouting and saying what's wrong with you, would have us listening to hear what's right with you, what's really going on. What does your heart say? There is a wonderful book that talks about listening, talks about some other things that I'm not as crazy about, but it's written by one of our practitioners out in Idaho, I believe it is. His name is David Lemaster. The title of the book is Stalking the Power of Boredom. And right now, for many people, that could be a good thing. Because as we are naturally going after and looking for the things we want to express and have and desire, like the masculine energy, there is that feminine energy that kicks in with any hunter, whether they're hunting great ideas or anything else, that would say, be quiet and wait. If you've ever been a fisherman, you know that you spend a lot of time being quiet and waiting. If you've done any kind of hunting, if you're hunting for that great spiritual idea that's going to wake you up, there's a lot of listening, a lot of waiting, a lot of listening inside and saying, what is my real thing that's going on right now? I made a decision a couple of days ago to get off of the internet, the tubes, except when I'm actually working and needing to do something, or the TV or whatever. I went a little crazy the first day. After about 8 hours of that, I wanted some distraction, so I didn't have to think about anything. But what I did was I took that time to just begin to listen inside and hear what's really going on inside. And some of that desire for distraction was coming out of an awareness within me that I'm not perfect. I don't know how to do this. I've never done what we're doing right now before. I'm excited about it. It's exciting. It's wonderful. But then there's another part of me that's going, oh, yeah, okay. Can we really do this? Can I come forward to the right gifts, the right ideas? So the divine feminine within me says, listen. Listen for how intelligence within you is showing up and what it's doing and what it's bringing. And I said, I felt a real urge and a desire, and decided that one of those deep things that I'm hunting for is always the experience of being loved and of loving. That's, if there's one thing I'm after, that's one of the core ideas for me. And so I started listening for that. And I started affirming that and just waiting. That afternoon, my phone rang off the hook. I talked to my family. I talked to my friends in Colorado. I talked to friends in California. People just suddenly started calling me. I felt so loved and so supported and so surrounded. And if I hadn't chosen to stop and be quiet and listen for what Spirit was saying, I'm ready to express, I might have missed it. I might not have, because they might have called anyway, but I have a feeling that, because two of them said, I just had a feeling we needed to talk to you today. And I'm like, wow, how cool is that? What a great demonstration. Yeah. See, that infinite spiritual intelligence, this in, as, and through, and behind everything, is coming forward with ease, with grace, with love. We just have to hear it. We have to experience it. We have to listen for it, because it will also let us ignore it if we choose to. Sometimes until we get a 2x4, but even that in this whole thing, what we're going through now with this world situation, sometimes it takes discord for us to get our attention brought back to what matters, to bring ourselves back to how do we behave, what do we behave, what do we really look for, what do we want, what do we value. It is such a rich thing. Yeah, I live in an apartment complex, and I take walks because I can't go to the gym, and it's so sweet because people will give each other wide berth. They also come out on their balconies or their front and talk to one another across great distances. People that I know weren't talking to each other before. We're honoring each other. We're seeing each other. We're welcoming each other. Even this thing at the grocery stores where you have a shopping time for seniors. I happen to appreciate that because I'm a senior, and I take that as a loving expression of life. You don't see that very often. Often for seniors, we're invisible. Well, we're not invisible between 7 and 8 at the grocery store, at least not in my neighborhood. We're the only ones there. Accept that, let that flow and look for how those things happening in your life right now are the expression of the divine within you, bringing forward something new and something different. So don't let the labels, whatever they are, and whatever confusion you may have about that, or whatever clarity you have about that, don't let that get in the way of recognizing the divine within another person. Instead, let it be the avenue into recognizing that divine, because it is through our uniqueness, our individuality, that's the pinnacle and peak of oneness is expressed. One unique identity, one unique expression, like no one else's. When we recognize that, we're looking at the one, the oneness. You're all familiar probably with the Namaste. That looking deeper, that looking beyond. That part that says, Spirit in me, God in me, honors and recognizes the God in you. If we have a true name, that would be it. Our other names are symbols by which people recognize us and we recognize each other. They're not definitions of who we are, but they are symbolic representations. Because as you hear that sound, it does something inside of you. You've been hearing that sound associated with you for your whole life, perhaps. And so it awakens some connection with all life when you just hear your name. It's a beautiful thing. The other thing that Namaste tells us is it's not an either-or world. In order to recognize the divine in someone else, to recognize someone else's power, goodness, and divinity, I must be able to recognize it in myself as well. The divine in me recognizes the divine in you. If I don't have a sense of what that divine is, I can't see it in you. I can see those other things in me that I don't like, that I might see in you. I can see those loud and clear, and I want to yell at you about them. But that's different. It takes some time. It takes some focus. You see, you can know and experience the divine within you as realistically as you can experience watching me on this screen. As realistically as you can experience a hug. Realistically and as true as any other experience. The divine in you is a real live thing. It's not just a symbolic idea. It takes some meditation. It takes some willingness to be quiet and listen. And what better time than right now to do that? Some of us have had a bit of a slowdown these last couple of weeks. Some of us are busier than ever. But whether you're busy or not, take the time to listen. Listen to your heart. Listen to your mind. And in listening, identify. That's the divine whispering to me. That's the divine expressing as a feeling. And it's good, very good, and all good. You deserve that because you're wonderful. And so am I. And so it is. So let's take a moment and listen to the divine within us. There's a beautiful Buddhist chant that I want to invite you to join me on. I'll begin it and then I'll go silent, and you do it in the silence of your own mind. It is Om Ah Num. Om Ah Num. Om is that sound that incorporates our minds, the infinite, the wholeness, the oneness. Ah incorporates our speech and the energy of your throat and your speech. And Num is the heart. So there are a lot of translations of this chant. One of them is peace of mind, peace of speech, and peace of heart. Another is clarity of mind, clarity of speech, and clarity of heart. So I want to invite you to join me if you would like to, and I will guide us with this for a few moments, and then I'll invite you to continue in the silence of your mind, and then I'll call time on us and do a closing, not a closing treatment, but a treatment to end this segment. So take a deep breath together, big breath in, slowly releasing. Another breath in and letting go. And the chant is Om Ah Num. Om Ah Num. Om Ah Num. As I listen to the divine within me, as I find clarity of mind and heart and voice. I speak my word with truth, with certainty. I'm impeccable with my word in speaking only that which is uplifting to myself and to others. I'm clear in my thought as I see and understand the oneness, the unity that underlies all life. And I'm clear in my heart as it opens in compassion and feeling and connection. I feel the love around me. I feel the love I am sharing with others. It is not clouded or interfered with by anything else out there. Not by someone else, not by our environment, nothing. My heart is open. I know this is true because I declare it to be true. And when I speak my word as the infinite oneness, the expression of that oneness, I speak the word of God. And I speak the word for myself, declaring this truth, that I am clear in mind, voice, and heart. So as I move through my next day and my next days, I do so with ease, with grace, with goodness, and fearless trust. This is the truth of me now and always. I am an expression of the divine in all aspects of my life. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for everyone on this call. I'm grateful for all that we have shared together this morning. And in that gratitude, I can release this now, knowing it is complete for now. I let it be, and so it is. All right. Hi. Let me bubble back up to the surface here. That's always takes me. That's a beautiful chant. I got it from a website that does meditations, and right now that went right out of my head, but it's it'll come back. And actually, it's an app. But enjoy. There are lots of things out there to support us at this time with our spiritual growth and practice. I was very late sending this out. Are any of the board members prepared to share this next part? Nope. Okay, it's me. I'll do it. I don't mind. So this is a time in our celebration every week where we do celebrate our prosperity. We celebrate the prosperity of one another. We celebrate our prosperity of our center, and we do that by our contributions, by our giving. So I want to let you know that while we're meeting online, there are still great ways that you can do that. You can do it through our website. You can do it through the chat on this call. You can also do it by sending a check to our P.O. Box 14303, Atlanta 30324. Now, I don't expect you to remember that, but if you go to our website, cslmidtown.org, you will find all of that information and know where to reach out to us. So if you would like to join me as we read together our affirmation of prosperity. I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow, and all that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is. And now we have some more music.
now are free. Express yourself and let your spirit soar. You now have love all around and all within your heart. You now are love, endless warmth, shining like the sun. Let the past fall behind you, so the present can remind you you are whole and where you need to be. You now have peace, time to think and time to be just you. You now are peace. Go within and kiss your own sweet soul. Let the past fall behind you, so the present can remind you you are whole and where you need to be. Oh, yeah. You now have light. See the world and see just who you are. You now are light, shining forth and where you need to be. Shining forth and where you need to be.
Thank you, Doug. That's wonderful. Yay! This is a Zoom applause. So jazz hands. So feel free if you're there. Thanks. All right. So let me tell you some announcements. We don't have a lot, but I want to give you a little bit. One thing that's I said in our beginning that we're about connecting and about engaging you in continuing your spiritual practice and your spiritual life during this time. So our initial way of doing that, and what we're starting this, did a little last week. We're going to continue it this week on Tuesdays at noon and Thursdays at 6 p.m. We're having what we are calling spiritual empowerment. Now, my friend John DePalma, as many of you know, has a much more practical name for it. He calls it chat and treat. So it's the same idea. We're going to do a little sharing, do a little talking, do a little connecting, and then do some spiritual mind treatment just to lift you up on through the week. I don't know about you, but I'm starting to need more of that because I'm getting really tired of being at home and not going out and hugging anybody. So this is just for that purpose and give you a place to process some of that. So that's Tuesdays at noon, Thursdays at 6 o'clock. All that's Eastern time, and that's on this same link. You can count on using this link for most everything. Also, then starting on April 15th, which is yet a bit away, not too far, a brand new class is being released by Centers for Spiritual Living. This is different from what I announced last week because it has changed. You know, sometimes when you're working on something and it just doesn't work, and you keep trying and trying and it's stuck in the mud, which is what was happening in developing those other classes. And as I was struggling with it, this notice came through from CSL about this new class. And I'm like, well, no wonder. This is exciting. It's a brand new style, a brand new structure, a brand new way of teaching. And the class is called Revealing Wholeness. And it is all about the mind-body-spirit connection. So it's a place to really dig into your consciousness of health, your consciousness of your physicality, to put aside all that ageism and other stuff for those of us who have that to deal with. Most of you don't, but some of us do. And, you know, and to really grow. That will be happening on Wednesdays at 7 p.m., 7 to 9:30. And it will be April 15th through May 27th. It's 7 weeks. The cost on that is $199. We do have a payment plan we can work out. So if you want that, contact me or contact Mike Wagoner, who's also on this call, and send an email to info@csl.org, cslmidtown.org. To register for that class, send me an email, and you'll find it but it's Dr. Bob Deen at cslmidtown.org. And if you don't spell my name right, it won't get to me. So now's your chance. So that's what we have coming up right now. There'll be some other things in the future. We will be meeting in this place at this time every week now through May 3rd, possibly longer, but at this point, that's the plan. It depends on how this whole thing goes. So stay tuned. We'll let you know. Practitioners, if you're on the call, wave at people so we know who you are. And if you're willing and want to hear from some of these folks for treatment, if you're willing to put your name and number in the chat, that would be awesome. And that way people can know that you're here and they know how to reach you if they want more personal, deeper spiritual work. Also, our board of trustees are here. I want to let you know that at a recent board meeting, we elected our officers for the year. I am the president, continuing as the president. Our secretary is Karen Childs. Wave at us, Karen. There you are. Cool. And the treasurer is Vance. You've all seen and heard him. He is also the technician par excellence. Thank you, sir. We also have some standing committees that we established. Social media committee, which is headed up by Cynthia McCarthy. And I'm sure she would welcome any ideas, there she is waving, that you might have or actually labor willingness. Also, our membership development, which is a function of the secretary's position, is headed up by Karen Childs. Also, Lynn Bryce is in that group, and Cynthia as well, because it sort of all interrelates with what she's doing. Financial development and investment. Vance Blue, he is our treasurer, but we want to pull together some people who'd like to take a longer look, a more long-range look at our center and how we can begin to develop our sustainability. So let Vance know if you're interested in talking and working with that. And then our Sunday celebration team is Vance Blue and Doug Moody. Doug does the music. Vance does almost everything else, but he also has been training some other people to help. So thank you so much, all of you who have given so much to this center. And now I'll turn it back to Dr. Bob. Oh, hi. Okay. So unless you have something you want to say, I will close this out and we'll turn off the recording. And then we'll stick around for a little bit if you want to just chit chat with each other or with me or whatever. So it's on your program, or it's about to be on the screen. The affirmation of life. I leave this place now knowing something better than I knew before. I go forth into the world with a heart full of love and a mind full of good sense. I look at the world in a greater way, knowing that I have within me everything I need to create the life I desire. I give thanks for this understanding, and I am grateful for the spirit of life that lives through me. And so it is. Thank you all for being here.